This week's conversation is with Tom, who is a assistant producer at Sky. Now, what I think is fascinating about this conversation is, one, his journey from being a cricketer who would or wanted to become a professional, but probably dawned on him, and he talks about it, particularly at university, that at that point he kind of knew that that wasn't an avenue for him, but the way in which he then still now has a fantastic career within sport. The other bits that I picked up from were, again, high performance athletes working hard, being good people, his input on social media and how it can be both a positive and a negative, and the role of the media in an athlete's career. Again, I found absolutely fascinating. So have a listen, have a watch, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Tom, for giving up your time on a Monday morning. First question that we ask everyone is, what is high performance?
Thanks, Andy. Well, high performance to me probably is acting at the peak of your power. So no matter who you are, whether you are Joe Bloggs on the street or Ben Stokes or Cristiano Ronaldo, high performance essentially can still be the same thing. So you might not be the same actual event or same performance, but it can still be at the high performance of yourself. So that whatever that takes, so that might mean, you know, training as hard as possible, being as prepared as possible, because that's, I think, how you achieve high performance, is being ready and being in the position to perform to your best ability. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be playing international cricket. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be playing professional football. But what it does mean, whatever you do in life, you need to be as prepared as possible to give your 100%. And people get in that position in many different ways. But for me, yeah, high performance would be that everyone is prepared to their best ability and puts themselves in the best scenario and best situation to achieve as much as they can.
It's quite interesting. When I speak to a lot of people about high performance, they always talk about kind of the preparation, the hard work. Just outline the journey you went through from the time you were at Cranley to then leaving university and then now in your role with Sky.
Yeah, so I left Cranley what feels like a lifetime ago now, 2007, and I love sport. Sport was the main thing that I did during my time at Cranley. I was obsessed by it, and Mr. Welsh will tell you I was never probably the most talented sportsman going, especially cricketer, but I loved it, and I would work as hard as possible to become the best sportsman I could be. And, you know, like anyone, I dreamt of being a professional sportsman, but for me, that was probably never going to be the case. So I went to Loughborough University and thought, sport's great, I want to carry on playing sport, but I need to get a degree, I need to look at a career. And so I went and did a finance degree at Loughborough. We knew someone through the OC network who worked at Sky at the time. So I dropped him an email, and I played OC cricket with him, so I knew him through the OC connection. And I just sent him an email and said, oh, Graham, you know, I'm interested in Sky Sports and what they do, or, you know, watch a million hours a day. Is there any chance of some work experience? So back then it was quite easy to get work experience if there was someone you knew who worked there. So he got me in for a week's work experience, and I actually worked on Soccer AM. And I thought, oh, this could be amazing. I love Soccer AM. I watched that growing up. And I actually didn't enjoy it. I was just, you know, I came in having, you know, gone through the sixth form at school, being, you know, one of the bigger personalities, going away to Australia, having a good time. And I wasn't treated that well, I'd say. I was just kind of palmed off to every single different department and was running tapes, not really doing anything. And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. So I applied to all the different finance things and got a few offers for sort of work experience. And I was sort of going through the process. Graham called me again and said, oh, Sky Cricket are looking for someone to come in and help us out for the summer. It's paid. There's no commitment. So if you want to go and do another job interview or whatever, that's absolutely fine. So I did. So I was like, all right, great. And GFI said, come back and go through the graduate program and go through all the applications and stuff. I was like, okay, fine. Did that. Ended up not getting the GFI job because they actually ended up going to one of their big clients' sons actually got the job. So it was kind of a hiding to nothing in the end. I started at Sky working for the cricket department, just helping out, doing bits and pieces. And Sky, it's a bit like Cranley, I say. It's like this massive campus that's sport obsessed, and it's just an amazing place to be. It's not like you're in central London in a dark office. Everything's so what I call googly. So like, you know, breakout areas, cafes, thinking areas. It's just a really cool, good vibe, positive place to be, and I absolutely loved it. And then at the end of my 3 months working cricket, and I went to games, I saw the commentary box, I saw everything, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool, something to be a part of. So I stopped my applications to work in the city and thought, come on, let's give this a go. It was a long old trek to get through those early few years, and so many times I'd be like, right, I'm not doing this. I need to go and get a proper job, as it were. I can't deal with this. But over time, it built and built and built, and I got more and more opportunities. I started off voicing features. I started off doing as live links, and then, you know, finally got a gig to do a first live show, and then from there it's really expanded. So now I've kind of fingers in a lot of pies. I do a bit of presenting, bit of reporting. I produce documentaries. Work day in, day out with, you know, my childhood heroes. That's what was always the strange thing. I grew up absolutely adoring Shane Warne and Nasser Hussain. And now I walk into the comm box and they, you know, have a go at me and slag me off for, you know, being an idiot. Well, you do this, do that. And I'm like, I can't believe it. These guys, you know, not only know who I am, but, you know, having a laugh and a joke with me. So I look back at it now and see how far I've come. And it's been an amazing experience, and hopefully a lot more great experiences to come.
I think everyone I speak to now about high performance, or through all these conversations, is the continual story of the journey and actually how hard it is. And it's only really at the end you look back and go, it was worth it, but at the time it was very, very hard. And I guess from kind of the millions out there who watch Sky or watch BT Sport, whoever it may be, will be thinking, man, that's a brilliant job. And it obviously is, but you've had to do the hard work to get to that. You're not suddenly just kind of thrown into it and go, well, here you go, here's some tickets to Lords and just go and sit in the comms box. You've actually got to do, like you said, the overnight hours, the sacrifices. And it seems to be, whether you're an athlete in sport or whether you're a presenter in sport, it's hours. It's a lot of commitment. It's doing things that a lot of other people just wouldn't want to do. Yeah, the majority of us, I guess, will turn on Sky and let's talk cricket, because obviously that's the area that your major focus is on. But we'll watch a test match, England playing in Sri Lanka, and we'll have a watch of them and see what they're performing on the pitch. I'm a Spurs fan for my sins. So I love the kind of all or nothing documentary to see behind the scenes. What really fascinates me is you get to see that. You get to see the preparation, the training, how these players are behaving, the things, I guess, that most of us just wouldn't have a chance to ever see. Are there things that you've learned, or looking at them now, where you're seeing these high performance athletes and going, that is why they're high performance? Are there traits that you've picked up on or you've seen that you go, you know what, that is why they are making it. That is why they're achieving the level that they are? Yeah,
I think it was very eye-opening for me when I sort of first saw my first England training session. So I probably wasn't in the first couple of years, but after probably a few years, I got to go to training and had to do sort of different production stuff at the training sessions. And the way they work, there is no luck, there is no surprise that these guys are professional elite athletes. They treat that training session as though it was their last day in cricket ever. So, and it's all led from the top, really. So the likes of Stokes, Butler, Root, Anderson, Broad, they really lead the sessions, and the intensity is something that you can't believe. They'll do, you know, they've never hit enough balls, they've never taken enough catches. It's always more, and they test themselves. You know, they're not taking 10 easy high catches and then going, thanks, that's me done. They are going, give me a harder catch. You know, I'll try and, you know, hit the ball over there. I want to try and stop that boundary. I want to try and throw it back in. Their training is up here, you know, 150%. So actually, when they come into the game, things will seem easier because they've taken that training to one step above elite almost. So everything is done absolutely to the highest of standards. and they're just the way they communicate. They're always chatting. They're always sort of going over, working on stuff. They'll go and hit a few balls. Then the bowler will come down and they'll say, have you noticed this? Have you noticed that? And the communication during training is, as I say, next level, and it is so interesting to watch, to see how they work. And also, just not even on the training field, just around the grounds in general, everything is very professional. But they're also very polite and communicative. So, they're very friendly. They'll be talking to the stewards. They'll be talking to the change room assistants. They are good humans, which is probably a funny thing to say, but they are actually good people, and they actually give a lot of time to people. So actually, if you're watching from the outside, they'll come over to the journalists and the media and have a chat and sort of say, talk. They might ask questions about, some journalists might ask questions about their team or conditions or whatever, and they'll have that chat and they'll give an opinion. Sometimes there obviously are crucial information that they'll hold, but they'll try and build that rapport, which probably is something that back in the day didn't happen as much. I remember speaking to Nasser, Sane and Mike Atherton about this. Back then, when they were playing and captaining England, it was very much them and us, the media over there, and they were out to get the players. Whereas now it's not like that at all. Now it is very much a collaborative effort of promoting the game, because that's what it is. A lot of people have opinions that, the media do have to write the story, and they do need to find a story. And sometimes it's not going to be nice. When England are getting bowled out for 36, or, the Stokes incident in the nightclub in Bristol, these things need to be reported, and that's going to happen. But apart from those big incidents, it is a collaborative effort of promoting the game of cricket. Because at the end of the day, the more people who watch cricket, the more people are going to read cricket, the more people are going to turn on the TV and subscribe to Sky Cricket. It's a growing game, and I think they realise now that they're a part of that. And if they don't give back, the game will suddenly disappear or not be as big as it could be.
You spoke already about working alongside kind of your childhood heroes. How did you find that, kind of suddenly meeting Shane Warne for the first time and working with people that you had huge admiration for?
It's one of those things I think takes time. So I remember first coming into Sky, and you're so overawed by the whole thing. You're like, oh my God, that's Shane Warne. Oh my God. I remember one day at Sky, David Beckham came into the offices, and it was like, it was just the strangest thing in the world. Everyone was sort of looking over the barriers and trying to, sneak a glimpse of him. He was the biggest name in sport was there, and everyone wanted a piece of him. And I think when I came in, I was very much like that. I wanted to go and have a look at Sky Sports News and just see the presenters on set. And I wanted to go and see Shane Warne, and I wanted to go and see Nasser, for example. But over time, working with them, you sort of get it in your head that they are colleagues, and they are the heroes, and they have the history of being these great characters in sport. But the more time you work with them and the more time you deal with these people, you kind of get over it, and you get a bit more confident in yourself. Because, I've not played 100 test matches for England. I've not taken 700 test wickets like Shane Warne. But I have a role, I have a responsibility where I need to say to Shane, I need to say, you've done that wrong, you need to do that again, or I need you to go over there and I need to produce them, or I need to go, right, I need to ask you some difficult questions. I'm doing an interview on, Steve Smith and the Sandpaper Gate and David Warner, and I need to ask you tough questions, and you're going to have to respond. So you need to have those tough conversations with them. So that rapport comes from time of getting to know people and respecting yourself, and respecting your opinion counts. And that only comes from experience. As I say, you go in day one and you're so excited by the whole thing, but in the end, it comes a bit second nature and part of the job. And the experiences are great. I've gone out for dinner with some of the biggest names in sport and heroes of mine. I've been in the gym with Virat Kohli. You look on the face of it and you tell people, they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But you kind of get used to it almost, and it becomes part of your job, and you have that responsibility. And don't ever take it for granted. These guys are great brains, and you can learn a lot from them. But you need to try and earn their respect by being good at your job.
Talk me through that first time that you were live on air. How were the nerves? How did you deal with them?
I remember my first live exactly, it was Surrey against Essex at Chelmsford, 4-day game, and Sangakkara was going for the most consecutive hundreds in first-class cricket, and I was down at Chelmsford building up to that day. So you get there early, you set up, and you have a match camera and then what's called an Envision camera who's just with you, and you're liaising with the desk saying, you know, what do you want? You know, what's the stories of the day? Because if suddenly Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets sacked, you'll suddenly get pushed. But in the summer when there's not much football on, cricket does take a priority. And with Sangakkara being a big name, they were keen for updates through the day. So I remember my first live was in the build up to the game, like 9:30 or something like that. And I just remember going, I'll just try to learn my words of what I was going to say. I was like, I don't want to get this wrong. I just want to try and memorize exactly what I'm going to say. And you've got obviously the earpiece in with the sports news output and the producers and directors talking to you. And they're like, we're cross live now to Tom Crump at Chelmsford. And I just kind of spurted out my pre-learned spiel about Sangakkara. And I spoke about 1,000,000 miles an hour and just got it done. Within 30 seconds, it was all over. And they were like, thanks very much. Done. And I was off. And I'd done my first ever live, 30 seconds pre-recorded. And I called the producer afterwards, you know, how was that? And he said, and so he gave me my feedback of, don't learn what you're going to say. Don't try and get worried too much about the ins and outs of exactly what you're going to say. The most important thing is that you're natural and you're saying what comes. You know, we know you've got the knowledge. We know we wouldn't send you there if we didn't think you had the knowledge. So just relax. I know the first one's always going to be hard, but throughout the day, just tell us what you see, tell us the atmosphere, tell us what's going on. We back your knowledge. Just talk to me or talk to the camera like you're talking to your mate down the pub, because that's what people want to see. And then throughout that day, we did, I don't know, 1 or 2 hits an hour. So by the end of the day, it was kind of second nature, and just that buzz of being live was still the buzz, and it will always be the buzz now. So when I'm doing something now and I've got it in my ear that we're going live, I'll always get that buzz and excitement, because that's what it's about. But you just get used to the nature of how it works, and your adrenaline levels just sort of come down a little bit, and you know, you're telling a great story and you're informing the people at home, and sort of little techniques like keeping still and not waving your hands around too much, that you learn those with time. But that first live, I remember, was absolutely amazing, and just getting it out of the way was just the best thing in the world. Because
it's amazing, isn't it? We speak a lot to the pupils here about you get to a certain level and you work so hard to get there, and then you spend the whole time hoping you don't make a mistake.
Yeah.
So I presume kind of the build up to your first live, you're going, please don't make a mistake, please don't make a mistake. It's a bit like standing on the first tee of a golf course, or going out to bat. Please don't get out first ball, please don't get out first ball. And that difference between need to achieve and need to avoid failure, it's amazing. Yeah. Really, in all our walks of life.
It is, you know, whether it's the first ball of a test match, and I'm sure Hope you'll say the same, it's just get it out of the way. You know, to get that first one out of the way and get through it, because your second one will be much better. Your experience, you've gone through that experience, your processes are much better. And then so you can just move on and just repetitive learning. Definitely, the women's cricket has gone through the roof. A lot of investment's gone into women's cricket, and the standard has just increased, you know, tenfold. Nothing speaks more highly than the Women's World T20 final in February, or whatever it was, in March 2020, when they had 100,000 at the MCG. It's a sport that's getting bigger and bigger, and you know, more and more talented players. And I think the ECB contracted 40 more girls this summer into professional contracts. So there is a living, you know, a lot more people can earn a living from playing women's cricket. And I have to give credit to Sky in all of this, of making that investment and giving it the platform to succeed. You know, we put the same effort into it. We cover it in exactly the same way almost that we would cover a men's international game. It is treated with that, and it deserves it. That's the difference. It deserves it. It's a watchable format. We pretty much look at the numbers for everything we do. We look at how many viewers are viewing it, and that's how to a degree, that's how we justify what we do. And the women's numbers are incredible. When England are playing Australia in a women's T20, the numbers are almost as good as the men's. So we know people are watching it, and we know it's our job to help grow the game. And you look at our commentary lineups changed over time as well. So the likes of Isha Guha, Ebony Rainford Brent, giving them the exposure on the screen has hopefully encouraged more girls to see that that is an opportunity. And if they're like me, who then can't make a career out of professional sport and professional cricket, if that's what they want it to be, there are other opportunities in the game because they love cricket, whether it be in the media or on the coaching side. The opportunities for women in cricket are getting more and more obvious, and there are more and more opportunities. So women's cricket is in a great place. It needs to carry on growing. It needs, like men's game as well, England, Australia, India very much dominate the women's game as they do the men's. So it needs to be growing on a global scale. But, if I was a young girl at Karani now, I'd say there's definitely a career to be had in cricket. So keep going, keep enjoying it, and make sure that you explore every avenue, because women's cricket is only getting bigger and women in the media are growing more and more like they ever have.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the investment of Sky, BT in sport, there's always that debate between kind of sports behind the paywall, isn't it? It's kind of, do we want, I remember kind of 2005 Ashes, was it on Channel 4, and the whole country was sitting down watching it, and suddenly it went behind the paywall, and it was that eternal debate of, well, if suddenly you have to pay to watch sport, we're not going to see the heroes in people's living rooms. But the investment that comes into it from the likes of Sky and BT is huge, and actually allows for a lot of these sports to be professional, and for athletes to earn the wages that they do, to commit the time and the energy into getting better and better. It
is. It's such a tricky one, and it's a debate that Corey gets thrown at me a lot of, cricket behind the paywall, sport behind the paywall. And yeah, there is a slight issue with it. Kids growing up, I remember the Ashes. I was at Cranley during the Ashes 2005, and I remember sort of almost being late for lessons because I was watching, that Kevin Peterson innings at the Oval, and I think I had double chemistry, and I was miles away from Loveday, and I was like, no, one more over. And to build that excitement is amazing. But I think people forget Channel 4 used to break from the cricket to go and do the horse racing because they had a commitment there. And Sky gave the Cricket World Cup final in 2019 to Channel 4 as well. And even then, they had another event on that they had to put it on more for. So cricket and sport on free-to-air television does have its barriers, but as you say, there definitely needs to be a space for it. And with the 100 and everything coming up in cricket, the BBC getting rights to some of the games is definitely, I think, right. It's a way of getting cricket to the kids and to the families who can't afford Sky Sports subscription, because let's face it, Sky is expensive, and having Sky Sports isn't cheap. So to be able to get some sort of cricket on free-to-air television is great. I think Sky are going to make a commitment to put every 100 game on YouTube, so it's free to air in the UK to kids trying to learn about cricket and experience cricket. So there definitely is that battle that you need to earn, but also Sky, whether it's Sky or whoever, these companies have invested a lot of money in cricket, and cricket wouldn't be where it is today without Sky's help. And I think people easily look past that, the fact of the amount of money these, as you say, these professional cricketers earn, the fact that these England women now have 40 more professional cricketers. That's come on the back of a £1 billion rights deal that Sky have signed with the ECB. So this money into the game isn't just for the top level athletes as well. It's for growing the game, growing the grassroots games, things like disability cricket, other sort of things like that, Chance to Shine, giving to these sort of charities, state school cricket. All this money that comes in from this Sky deal and television deal is growing the game. So it's not just kids seeing it on free-to-air television. It is getting more cricket into schools, getting cricket out there. I think there's a massive participation clause in this new Sky contract that they want more kids, a certain amount of kids with a bat and ball in hand by 2024 when the end of the contract comes. That is the aim. And I know Sky did the same thing with cycling with the Sky Ride, that they wanted to have a lot more kids with a bike cycling in general, because not enough kids were cycling, people turning into gaming and things like that. They wanted to get more people out and about, and that's what Sky Cricket Sky are trying to do with their cricket partnership with the ECB. It is about growing the game. And I think right now they have got the balance of, they've got the big contract, they've got the money, but there is a little taster of cricket on free-to-air television and the BBC. And, you know, there does come a stage, yeah, if it's all on Channel 4 or all on free-to-air television, does that mean more people are going to watch it? Yeah, there will be a few more people watching it, but is that really going to grow the game as much as they could? I think right now they're getting the balance right.
Excellent. I was thinking about this last night, how I was going to ask this question, because I was going to say my generation, and it makes me feel very old, and I'm 37, but social media, it's a world away from when I first started in sports and when I was kind of going through the ranks in my sporting kind of short, but my sporting career. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is there a bit of both to it? What would you be saying to people? Because I know, for example, I would be turning around to a lot of people saying, look, you know, maybe stay off social media, But I can understand, I guess, there's a brand to be built. There's things to be done with it. Yeah,
as you say, it's both. It is the most amazing tool in the world, and it's also the worst tool in the world. It's, if you're coming on from an elite sportsman point of view, right? So back in the day, what you used to do before social media is the only way you could connect with fans was through the media. So through Sky, through the BBC, you would go out at the end of the day's play or a press conference before a game, and you would, you know, say your cliche answers, and that was it. That was the way that's the way you'd connect with fans. Whereas now, through social media, you can connect with fans whenever you want, in your own words, how you want to do it. It's completely up to you. So it's great in that sense that, right, you want to speak to your fans, speak to your following, because these guys now, sportsmen and cricketers especially, they're not, back in the day, they were just Joe Blogs and no one would know them. You know, you could walk down the street as England captain, you probably wouldn't get recognised that much. But with the money and the fame that's come with it, you know, if you're Ben Stokes, you can't walk down London High Street without being noticed at all anymore. So you've become a brand, and you've become this commercial entity that you can build yourself on. So you use these social platforms to grow your standing, because you've got to look after your career after, you know, you've got to look after your career after cricket or after football or whatever it is. You need to, you know, worry about paying the bills and the mortgage and all that sort of stuff. So make hay while the sun shines. And social media is the best way to do that. You know, people sign these multi-million-pound deals with, you know, whether it be Vitality or Red Bull or whatever. And for that, you've got 2 million followers. They want to advertise on your social media. But the only thing I'd say, and the main point I'd say about social media is that's great, but you're there to connect with fans. So you're there to be human. Make sure it's not just a page that you just chuck all your sponsors on and have nothing to do with it. So you want to be able to connect with fans. You want to be real. You want to be humane. People want to feel like they know you. But also treat every post and every TikTok video, every Instagram story as though you're speaking to the media, because you need to do that, because you can get found out. These things don't go. I know people think, oh, I posted that 5 years ago when I was at school. But say you post that when you're in lower sixth and you've made a tweet and it's, you know, not that great for you, put it that way. If you've been a bit controversial, that can be brought up later in your career, and you can be sitting in your first press conference for England and they say, what about this tweet? You tweeted this. Is this how you feel? It's never gone. As soon as you've tweeted it, as soon as you've put that picture on Instagram, it's there, and it's there to stay. There's a good example of Phil Neville, who's tweeted a sexist remark probably 5 years before he became manager of the England women's football team. And as soon as he became manager, they brought this tweet up and it ruined him. He was apologizing, everyone throwing him under the bus, saying, how can you lead England women's football if this is how you feel, if you tweeted this 5 years ago? So then he went and deleted all his social media. So social media is a great, powerful tool of connecting with fans and building brand, but be careful with it, because everything you say or post or anything is like you're speaking to the media, and that will never be forgotten. So if you have ambitions of making it in the professional world in sport, just be careful and be professional about it. Be professional with your social media account like you are with your training. You know, you put everything into your training and you train 100% professionally. Do that with your social media, because it'll only find you out if you don't.
And would journalists or people within the media be looking at people's social media accounts to find the story, or is those days kind of gone?
Definitely. So the way people get a lot of their stories now is, you know, in sports news, it's like, oh, so-and-so's just tweeted this, or, you know, they do transfer shows now. They've just had a tweet come in from here. Mesut Ozil's off here. I've just seen an Instagram post that someone's there. This is a story. We can take it as verified stories now, whereas back in the day, you wouldn't. At the first start of social media, you wouldn't say that. It would have to be a phone call or an official source. But now social media is an official source. So whatever you put that out on your social media is therefore information for us, the journalists. And a lot of press conferences you'll go in, they'll say, oh, Ollie Pope, you know, tweeted this and whatever, and ask you a question about it, and you have to have an answer for it. You can't just say, oh no, that was my social media. That is you, and that is where we get a story from, and that's an avenue we might want to push down, and we might ask you difficult questions on that subject. I think Edison Cavani was another example recently, who tweeted something racist and got a 3-game ban for it. And even though in his culture, he might have not considered it a racist word, but here he did and got a 3-game ban for Man United. He's put it out there. It is a story, and it will get blown out in proportion. That can be blown out in proportion. The media can take a small story that you didn't mean and you meant in a completely different way. They can take it and almost twist what you say to make it a story. So that's what you need to be careful with. The media, in largely, getting better, but they may twist stories and they may push you on things and take you down avenues you don't want to go down. And
do the players nowadays get media training?
Yeah, they are. They're getting bits and pieces of media training, and that's very important. But also, media training is great, but be true to yourself. The worst thing as someone in the media is you do an interview and someone is so media trained that they give you the cliche, short answers that doesn't sell themselves. The media is an opportunity, and that's the way it should be seen. It shouldn't be seen as, oh God, I've got to go and do the media duty. I've got to go and do the Sky interview and then the BBC radio and then the press conference. Don't see it that way. That is your opportunity to speak to the millions, to the fans, to anyone involved in cricket and tell your story. So I think that's the way you need to look at it. Be media trained, and yes, there are stuff that you won't be able to say, and there is stuff that is confidential to the team or the team environment that you don't want to throw people under the bus, or you don't want to give away secrets, or you don't want to talk about the team you're going to be putting out or the patterns you've been playing in training that week. But also see it as an opportunity to grow yourself and your portfolio of you, and sell yourself to the media and sell yourself to the fans of being human. And it doesn't mean you have to say everything perfectly. Like Stuart Broad did a interview at the start of this summer when he got left out, and he could have easily gone into that Sky Cricket player zone after being left out of the first test and said, I understand the team's decision. I'll work hard and try and get back for the next game. He didn't. He said, I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed to be left out. I felt it was my shirt. And that did so much for him. It was an honest interview. It was why would he be happy being left out of an England side? So be honest to yourself and give your true opinion, but also realize that, you're part of a team and you can't compromise that. So do your media training, pick up the basics, but it does come with experience. And actually, it's funny how careers work. I think when people first get into sport or first get into, they're keen to do the media and, for their friends to see them on TV and, oh, I've done an article for the paper and, it's all fun and games. And then they might go through a bad bit of form and think, oh, I don't want to do the interview. I don't want to do that. And sort of hide away from the media. And then they start to finish their career and they think, what's next? Oh, can I get a good gig in the media? Can I get a deal with Sky? Can I get a newspaper deal? So they then come back to us and be like, oh, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that, and a bit more open. So it's funny how it works. But the main thing I'll say is be true to yourself and treat every media exposure as an opportunity and not as oh God, I've got to go and do the interview again.
Fantastic. Tom, thank you very much for giving up your Monday morning to come and talk to us. Yeah, fascinating, really is. And I'm kind of jealous, really, because I've always kind of fancied kind of being able to watch all these people kind of train and rub shoulders with all kind of these heroes. So thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks, Samuel.